No one dared remember Thorn, until humanity needed the impossible. Commander Madison Thorn stared at the holographic display showing the impossible. 300 Krillian dreadnoughts surrounded Earth's orbital defense grid, their crimson hulls gleaming like drops of blood against the black void. Each ship was twice the size of humanity's largest battlecruiser, and their combined firepower could glass a continent in minutes. "Ma'am," said Lieutenant Dorian Cross, his voice tight with barely controlled fear. "High Command is requesting your presence in the war room, immediately." Madison didn't move from her position at the observation deck of Lunar Station. She had been watching the enemy fleet for the past 6 hours, memorizing every detail, every formation pattern, every weakness that might exist. The Krillians were methodical, predictable in their arrogance. That predictability might be their downfall. "Tell me, Lieutenant," she said without turning around. "What do you know about the Thorn Doctrine?" Cross shifted uncomfortably. "The what, ma'am?" "Exactly." Madison finally turned, her steel-gray eyes meeting his. "No one remembers anymore. That's by design." The war room buzzed with desperate energy when they arrived. Admiral Thorn Blackwood, the grizzled veteran who had led humanity's defense forces for 20 years, stood at the center of a crowd of officers all talking at once. Charts, tactical displays, and probability matrices covered every available surface. "Thorn," Blackwood said when he saw her, "thank God. We need options, and we need them now." "What's our current assessment?" Madison asked, pushing through the crowd to examine the main tactical display. "Grim," said Colonel Vera Stormwind, the chief strategist. "They're demanding unconditional surrender. They want all human military assets disabled, our defense grid powered down, and our government dissolved. In return, they'll allow our species to continue existing as a labor force." "How generous," Madison said dryly. "What about our fleet?" "Scattered across 3 sectors," Blackwood replied. "The nearest battle group is 4 days away, minimum. Even if we recalled every ship, we'd have maybe 60 vessels against their 300. And ground defenses? Planetary shields are holding for now, but their ships are just sitting there. They're not attacking yet. Intelligence thinks they're waiting for something." Madison studied the display, her mind racing through possibilities. The Krillians were reptilian, cold-blooded in more ways than one. They planned everything meticulously, never moving without absolute certainty of victory. If they were waiting, it meant they were expecting something. "They're waiting for reinforcements," she realized. "This isn't their full fleet." The room fell silent. Blackwood's face went pale. "How many more?" "If I'm right about their strategy, probably another 500 ships, maybe more." Madison turned to face the assembled officers. "They want to make an example of humanity. Complete annihilation, broadcasted across the galaxy to show what happens when you resist the Krillian Empire." "Jesus," whispered someone in the back. "There is another option," Madison said quietly. Blackwood leaned forward. "What option?" "Something that was classified so deeply that most people don't even know it exists. Something that was supposed to never be used." She paused, meeting each officer's eyes. "The Thorn Doctrine." "You keep saying that name," Colonel Stormwind said. "What is it?" Madison was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. "It's me." The confusion on their faces was expected. Madison had served for 15 years, rising through the ranks on merit and tactical brilliance. But her true purpose, her real training, that was known only to a handful of people, most of whom were now dead. "I need to speak with Admiral Blackwood privately," she said. The room emptied reluctantly. When they were alone, Blackwood activated a privacy field generator. "Talk." 30 years ago, when I was 7 years old, I was selected for a program that officially doesn't exist. Project Thorn. The goal was to create the perfect tactical commander for impossible situations. Madison began pacing, her mind organizing decades of suppressed memories. Genetic enhancement, neural conditioning, tactical implants, psychological programming. They took 50 children and turned us into weapons. How many survived? 1. Blackwood sank into his chair. And they named you after the project. I am the project. Everything I've done, every battle I've fought, every victory I've won, it was all preparation for this moment. For the day when humanity faced extinction and needed someone capable of the impossible. What are you saying? Madison stopped pacing and looked directly at him. I'm saying I can destroy that fleet, all of it, but the cost will be higher than you can imagine. Explain. The Thorn Doctrine isn't just about tactics or strategy. It's about understanding the fundamental nature of warfare itself. The Krillians think in terms of overwhelming force, predictable patterns, conventional thinking. They can't conceive of an enemy who thinks completely differently. You're talking in riddles. I'm talking about asymmetric warfare taken to its logical extreme. The Krillians have 300 ships. I have 1 ship, 1 crew, and 1 advantage they can't possibly understand. Which is? I don't think like them. I don't think like any of them. Madison's eyes had taken on a strange intensity. I think like someone who was designed from childhood to win unwinnable wars. Blackwood was quiet for several minutes. Finally, he spoke. What do you need? The stealth frigate Shadowhawk, my old crew from the Proxima campaign, and complete operational autonomy. Done. What else? Time. I need 8 hours to prepare, and I need you to keep the Krillians talking. Make them think we're considering surrender. And if you fail... Madison smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Then you'll never know what the Thorn Doctrine really was. The Shadowhawk was a ghost ship, built for missions that didn't officially exist. Only 40 meters long, it could slip through space undetected, its hull designed to absorb sensor beams and its engines tuned to produce minimal energy signatures. It was the perfect ship for impossible missions. Madison's crew was already waiting when she arrived. They had served together for 3 years, fighting pirates and conducting reconnaissance missions in the outer systems. They were good, but they had no idea what they were really getting into. Captain, said Lieutenant Commander Nash Steele, the ship's first officer, we heard about the Krillian fleet. Are we going to make a run for the outer colonies? No, Madison said, settling into the captain's chair. We're going to destroy them. The bridge fell silent. Chief Engineer Raven Darkwater looked up from her console with disbelief. Ma'am, with respect, that's impossible. We're 1 ship against 300. Actually, said Weapons Officer Kai Thunderborn, it's mathematically impossible. Even if every shot we fired destroyed a ship, we don't have enough ammunition. You're thinking conventionally, Madison said. The Thorn Doctrine doesn't work that way. Nash, take us out. Silent running, maximum stealth. Where are we going? Asked Pilot Echo Swiftwind. Into the heart of their formation. The Shadowhawk slipped away from Lunar Station like a whisper in the dark. Madison had ordered all non-essential systems powered down, reducing their energy signature to almost nothing. On long-range sensors, they would appear to be just another piece of space debris. Captain, said Communications Officer Lyra Voidcaller, I'm intercepting Krillian communications. They're definitely waiting for something. I'm detecting mentions of the final wave and complete eradication protocol. How long? Madison asked. Based on their chatter, maybe 12 hours before the reinforcements arrive. Madison nodded. That gave them a narrow window. Raven, I need you to prepare the quantum resonance charges. Ma'am, we don't have any quantum resonance charges. Check storage compartment 7, the one marked emergency supplies. Raven's face went pale as she accessed the compartment's inventory. Captain, these are experimental weapons. They're not even tested. They're tested, Madison said quietly. I tested them. 10 years ago, on a dead moon in the Kepler system, one charge can create a chain reaction that will destroy anything within a 50-kilometer radius. How many do we have? Asked Kai. 12. The math was simple. 12 charges, strategically placed, could theoretically destroy most of the Krillian fleet. But getting close enough to deploy them would require something beyond skill or luck. It would require thinking like someone who was designed to win impossible wars. Nash, Madison said, take us to the edge of their formation. I want to study their patrol patterns. The Shadowhawk drifted through space for 3 hours, mapping every movement of the Krillian fleet. Madison sat in her chair, her enhanced mind processing thousands of variables simultaneously. The neural implants from her childhood were fully active now, allowing her to perceive patterns that would be invisible to normal humans. There, she said finally, pointing to a section of the formation. Every 47 minutes, that cluster of ships adjusts their position by 3 degrees. For 37 seconds, there's a gap in their sensor coverage. That's not enough time to deploy a charge, Kai protested. It's enough time for what I have in mind. Madison stood up. Raven, can you program the charges to activate on a delayed timer? Yes. But why would we? Raven stopped, her eyes widening. Captain, you're not thinking of… I'm thinking of exactly what you think I'm thinking of. Madison moved to the weapons console. We're going to plant all 12 charges simultaneously. That's impossible, Nash said. Even if we could get close enough, we can't be in 12 places at once. We don't need to be. We need to make them think we're in 12 places at once. Madison began typing commands into the tactical computer. Every ship in their fleet is connected to their central command network. If we can hack that network, we can create false sensor readings. We're going to make them see ghost ships, Lyra realized. Exactly. 12 ghost ships, each one deploying a charge in a different location. By the time they figure out what's happening, it will be too late. How do we hack their network? Asked Echo. We don't. I do. Madison pressed her hand against a scanner beside the captain's chair. The scanner glowed blue as it read her biometrics, then connected to the neural implants in her brain. One of the modifications they made to me was a direct neural interface. I can process information at superhuman speeds and interface directly with computer systems. That's dangerous, Raven said. If their security systems fight back, it could damage your brain. Everything about this mission is dangerous. Madison closed her eyes as the interface activated. Begin the approach. The Shadowhawk moved through space like a hunting predator, slipping between the massive Krillian dreadnoughts. Each ship was over 2 kilometers long, bristling with weapon systems and sensor arrays. Up close, they were terrifying monuments to military might. First gap in 30 seconds, Nash reported. Madison's consciousness expanded into the Krillian network. Their security systems were powerful but predictable, designed to stop conventional attacks. They had no defense against someone who could think at the speed of light and adapt faster than their programs could react. I'm in, she whispered, beginning the deception protocol. On Krillian sensors throughout the fleet, one human ship became 12. The ghost ships appeared at the edges of their formation, moving with impossible coordination. Confusion spread through the fleet as commanders tried to understand what they were seeing. Deploying charges, Madison announced. The real Shadowhawk fired its payload of quantum resonance charges, each one programmed to seek out a specific target based on the patterns Madison had memorized. Charges away, reported Kai. All 12 are active and moving to their targets. How long until detonation? Asked Nash. 15 minutes, Madison said, still interfaced with the Krillian network. We need to get clear. But as the Shadowhawk began to withdraw, something went wrong. The Krillian network suddenly contracted around Madison's consciousness like a trap. Security programs that had been dormant activated simultaneously, recognizing the intrusion. "Captain!" Raven shouted. "Your neural activity is spiking dangerously!" Madison screamed as feedback from the network overloaded her implants. Blood trickled from her nose as she fought to maintain the deception. The ghost ships were beginning to flicker as her concentration wavered. "Disconnect," Nash ordered. "That's an order." "Can't," Madison gasped. "If I disconnect now, they'll see through the deception. They'll shoot down the charges. Then you'll die. Maybe. But Earth will live." The Shadowhawk raced through space as Madison battled the Krillian security systems. Her enhanced mind was faster than their programs, but there were thousands of them, all attacking simultaneously. Each second felt like an eternity as she fought to maintain the illusion that was keeping them alive. 10 minutes to detonation," Kai reported. 8 minutes, Madison corrected, her voice strained. "I'm accelerating the timers. We need to get farther away." "That's not possible from here," Echo said. "The interface is ship-based. You'd have to physically disconnect to change the programming." "Then I'll have to work faster." Madison's body convulsed as another security program attacked her neural pathways. "Nash, when I give the signal, cut the interface connection." "Captain, that's an order. When I say now, you cut the connection and get us out of here." The quantum resonance charges had reached their targets, attaching themselves to the hulls of the largest Krillian dreadnoughts. The devices were invisible to conventional sensors, designed to look like space debris until the moment of detonation. 5 minutes, Madison whispered. The Krillian fleet had begun to move, finally recognizing that something was wrong. But they were looking for 12 ships, not one. Their sensors showed the ghost ships retreating in different directions, leading them away from the real threat. 3 minutes. Madison's neural implants were overheating, pushed far beyond their design limits. She could feel her brain beginning to shut down, but she held on, maintaining the deception for just a few more minutes. 1 minute. Now! Madison screamed. Nash cut the interface connection. The ghost ships vanished from Krillian sensors, leaving them confused and disoriented. The Shadowhawk's engines roared to life, pushing the small ship away from the fleet at maximum acceleration. 30 seconds. Madison collapsed in her chair, unconscious from the neural feedback. Blood ran from her ears and nose, but she was alive. The Shadowhawk raced through space, its crew watching the countdown on their screens. 10 seconds. 5, 3, 2, 1. The quantum resonance charges detonated simultaneously. 12 points of light appeared throughout the Krillian fleet, each one growing into a sphere of pure energy. The spheres expanded rapidly, consuming everything in their path. The first dreadnought to be destroyed was the flagship. Its massive hull vaporized in less than a second. The explosion created a chain reaction, the ship's antimatter reserves adding to the destruction. The blast wave swept through the nearby ships, crushing them like insects. "My God," whispered Echo. The second explosion took out an entire squadron of cruisers. The third and fourth destroyed a cluster of support ships. One by one, the charges fulfilled their purpose, each one eliminating dozens of enemy vessels. "Counting casualties," Kai reported, his voice awed. "First wave, 47 ships destroyed. Second wave, 63 ships. Third wave, 89 ships. Total casualties?" Nash asked. 237 ships destroyed. The remaining vessels are retreating. The Shadowhawk's crew watched in amazement as the massive Krillian fleet, reduced to scattered fragments, fled from Earth's solar system. The survivors had seen their comrades destroyed by an enemy they couldn't even see, and they wanted no part of continuing the battle. "Captain," Lyra said, "I'm receiving a transmission from the fleeing ships. They're broadcasting on all frequencies." "Put it through." The voice that came through the speakers was filled with terror and disbelief. "This is Commander Vexus of the Krillian 7th Fleet. We are withdrawing from human space. We will not return. We will tell our empire that humanity possesses weapons beyond our understanding. We surrender." Nash turned to look at Madison, who was slowly regaining consciousness. "Captain, you did it? You actually did it?" Madison opened her eyes and smiled weakly. "The Thorn Doctrine, created to win impossible wars. At what cost?" asked Raven, running medical scans on her captain. "My neural implants are burned out. I'll never be able to interface with computers again, but it was worth it." Madison struggled to sit up. "Set course for Earth. We have a victory to report." As the Shadowhawk headed home, Madison reflected on what had just happened. The Thorn Doctrine had been designed as a last resort, a final weapon to be used when all else failed. She had been created to be that weapon, trained from childhood to think in ways that no enemy could predict. "Captain," Nash said, "there's something I don't understand. How did you know the quantum resonance charges would work? They were experimental weapons." "Because I helped design them," Madison replied. 10 years ago, during my classified research phase, I knew this day would come eventually. I knew humanity would face an enemy that couldn't be defeated through conventional means. So you prepared. I prepared for 30 years. Every battle I fought, every tactic I learned, every modification they made to my body and brain, it was all preparation for this moment. And now? Now the Thorn Doctrine is complete. The secret dies with me. No one will ever know exactly how we won today, and that's for the best. Some weapons are too dangerous to use more than once. The Shadowhawk entered Earth's atmosphere to a hero's welcome. News of the victory had spread throughout the solar system, and crowds gathered to celebrate the destruction of the Krillian fleet. But Madison knew that the real victory wasn't in the battle itself. The real victory was that humanity had faced extinction and survived. They had proven that they could not be conquered, that they possessed the will and the ingenuity to overcome any threat. The galaxy would remember what happened here, and that memory would protect humanity for generations to come. Admiral Blackwood was waiting when they landed. "Commander Thorn, I need a full report." "The report is simple," Madison said. "The Krillian fleet has been destroyed. The threat to Earth has been eliminated, and the Thorn Doctrine has been retired permanently. What about the reinforcements they were expecting? They'll arrive to find empty space and the scattered remains of their advance fleet. They'll get the message loud and clear. Humanity is not to be underestimated." Blackwood studied her face, noting the exhaustion and the price she had paid. Was it worth it? Madison looked up at the sky, where Earth's sun was setting behind the clouds. "Every child who will grow up free because of what we did today. Every family that won't be torn apart by alien conquest. Every dream that will be allowed to flourish because humanity survived." She turned back to him. "Yes, Admiral, it was worth it." That night, Madison stood alone on the observation deck of Luna Station, looking out at the stars. The Krillian fleet was gone, their wreckage scattered across the solar system. Earth was safe, and humanity would continue to reach for the stars. But the cost had been high. The neural implants that had made her superhuman were burned out, leaving her with nothing but her natural abilities. The 30 years of preparation, the childhood sacrificed to become a weapon, the isolation of carrying such a terrible secret, it had all led to this moment. She thought about the other 49 children who had been selected for Project Thorn. They had died during the enhancement process, their bodies unable to handle the modifications. She was the only one who had survived, the only one who had been strong enough to become what they needed her to be. No one dared remember Thorn, she whispered to the stars, until humanity needed the impossible. The words echoed in the empty observation deck, an epitaph for a project that had never officially existed. Tomorrow there would be parades and celebrations. There would be medals and commendations. There would be questions about how one small ship had destroyed an entire fleet. But there would be no answers. The Thorn Doctrine would remain classified, its secrets buried in files that would never see the light of day. Madison would return to her normal duties, serving as just another commander in humanity's defense fleet. And that was exactly how it should be. Some victories were too important to be remembered. Some heroes were too dangerous to be celebrated. Some weapons were too terrible to be used more than once. The Thorn Doctrine had served its purpose. Humanity was safe, and the galaxy would never again make the mistake of underestimating the species that had conquered its own world and reached for the stars. Madison smiled one last time and walked away from the observation deck, leaving the stars to their eternal dance. The impossible had been accomplished. The war was over, and somewhere in the vast darkness of space, the message was clear to any who would listen. Humanity endures. Humanity adapts. And when humanity needs the impossible, somehow it finds a way. The legend of the Thorn Doctrine would never be told, but the victory it achieved would echo through the ages, a reminder that even in the darkest hour, hope could still triumph over despair. And that was worth any price.